Okay, so Ishan, last week when we were discussing, you just had this idea that there are some, challenges when it comes to growing a company like Chosenly. Can you just elaborate on that part?
Oh yeah, definitely. So when we had the idea of Chosen Leave, we already knew that there were a few things that we could do differently, or that would be harder, right? So for example, just by the nature of the company, top of the funnel should be easy. We should be able to get a lot more. It should be easy to get eyeballs onto this. It might even be easy to get demos for something like this,
Right.
right? But then there's going to be three things that we've been very careful about. The first one is we obviously know that a lot more customers or a lot more competitors are going to pop up. The thing that I've been saying is that there might be, I expect there to be 100 more competitors. I will probably not hear more about most of them, and then 80 or 90 of them are going to shut down within the same year. Right, that seems to be true. That prediction seems to to be happening. We hear every week. I hear about at least a couple of 2 to 3 more competitors in the space. Now, the mistake everyone is making, and what we're avoiding doing there is when you're in a space like this where it is just booming, you cannot build the most obvious features.
Yeah.
Almost everyone is building for the visibility layer. That's the thing everyone is solving. So you need to have differentiation built into the product. For
Right.
example, with Chosenly, we've made sure that, hey, you know what, we'll not even build the analytics layer until this week. We're going to focus on the, I'm going to focus on how, um, just how actionable we can make things and how we can focus on revenue. The
Right.
other things that we've done to almost force differentiation, right? So we've done things like, hey, we don't, Choseny does not support top the funnel stuff at all. There is, if it is not high intent, if it cannot drive revenue, pipeline, uh, Choseny just doesn't work with it. Right, we've been able to, because of this focus, we've been able to get better insights for a certain segment of customers versus everyone else. For example, if there are people who um, want to just know holistically what's happening, Chosenly is not the right platform for them. But if people want to understand, hey, what can I do? Right? We bring the most specific actions that here is exactly what you need to do amongst our competitors at least, and we made sure that every action can actually drive revenue at some point, can influence revenue at some point of time. That's the first one. Like, hey, like there's going to be a lot of competition. You need to figure out how to deal with it, and that process of figuring out has to be incorporated into your product strategy.
Right.
The second one was, okay, we can get the demos. Selling it is going, and even if people want it, there's no line item for this.
Hmm.
So it's going to be hard to sell. Like, we're not convincing people just to say, hey, buy chosenly.com. What we are saying is, hey, you need to start this new marketing channel and you need to now then build that entirely into the company. You need to set up processes and you need to do this and that, and you need to now allocate budget and you need to rethink your marketing strategy. That's the, sometimes it's, what we're selling is this complicated.
Right.
That's one big challenge that we thought we will face, and we obviously are facing. The third thing is, I think, churn. So, given how complicated that is, I think we'll have a lot of people buy into the product because of the hype. But then we've been very conscious of, hey, who's going to stay. Now, there's two ways you can broadly solve this problem. Either you can say, you know what, I'm not going to go after SMBs, which are more likely to churn. Uh, that is one way to do it. Or you can say, hey, I'll make a product so cheap that that like it won't really matter. I'll go after volume, and I'll always be able to sell more. But in doing so in this space, you cannot make something very useful. That's the second way. The third way to really focus on churn is to say, hey, you know what, we'll just do whatever it takes to make our customers extremely successful and make this channel extremely successful. And being an agency, the third one just fit our, because we had this peer growth agency, the third one fit our DNA the best. So if you look at even the four co-founders, one of the four co-founders, Saurajit, just owns Churn. That's his, the
Right.
entire thing he owns. Someone owns revenue, someone owns the product, someone owns direction, but he just owns Churn. So yeah, we've had you can say that 25% of all of our focus, apart from, or just more than that, is just on churn. Every single time we have a leadership meetup, every time we meet up and discuss, even before we had customers, we were discussing churn. Right, so that is going to be how big that problem is. So yeah, those are three problems. Like just like dealing with an insane amount of competition, trying to sell in an uh, in a place where you're selling the platform or the channel itself, apart from just selling the platform. And the third is just dealing with churn because this is just so new. Yeah.
Got it. So when we were, just in the process of building the company, were there any other challenges which we have sort of, figured out, and they are not a challenge anymore, but they were, a bottleneck for us early on?
Yeah, so there were a few things that were interesting. So one was we thought, so even before building the platform, we were looking at this as a channel for our customers, because again at Spear Growth we have a dev team, we have an SEO team. We were thinking, hey, could we see if this works? So when it did, even we didn't really believe it can drive any actual bottom line. We thought it was too early, and then after we built it, we almost got lucky to see that hey, a lot of companies are actually driving significant revenue from this. So it's
Yeah.
not like a challenge we solved. We almost got lucky that we built this, and then we realized that oh, this actually is more useful than we thought. This is not just us building something a year before it's actually useful, but this is like the timing was actually good. So that was one major challenge, because if no matter what we did, if it couldn't ever drive revenue, it would be a very hard sell. It's hard to sell something that's experimental and it remains experimental for an entire year, versus something that actually is driving some revenue and that revenue is increasing. And it's very clear that it's going to become a significant channel, if not now, within a year. Those two are very different things to sell, and we just got lucky that became the second one. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Got it. Yeah, that's all
Yeah.
for this course.
Awesome, cool. By the way,
Okay.
there's one more challenge. LLMs keep changing how they work. So I think Harsh, which is the CTO, is
Yeah.
constantly figuring out, along with the dev team, how can we make it more and more stable. And others seem to have just almost given up on this. A lot of our competitors have just completely given up on the stability problem. They say, hey, that's just not possible.
Yeah.
And they sell a glorified visibility metric, versus we are actually trying to solve that as a problem. Otherwise, this cannot really be a very useful thing. So yeah, that's the third one that we have solved to some bit, and we are actively working on solving further. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Got it.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.